Good evening and welcome to Estuary TV News. I'm Hugh Richards. On this evening's programme, we visit potential doctors in hospital and I talk to Melanie On, Labour's new parliamentary candidate for Great Grimsby. But first, the news headlines with Richard Morris.
Hello, in the headlines today, Peaks Parkway speed limit should be increased according to a Conservative councillor, and St Andrew's Hospice has received a 6-month gift. Councillor Philip Jackson says North East Lincolnshire Council delay on a decision on the speed limit on Peaks Parkway is a case study in procrastination. The council met today to decide if the limit would be increased from 30 to 40 miles per hour, but the Conservative group leader says it's already been 8 months since the increase was proposed.
The Conservative group on the council last December, over 8 months ago, proposed at that stage that we should increase the speed limit from 30 miles per hour to 40 miles per hour, but retain the average speed cameras. And here we are, August the following year, 8 months later, and we're still waiting for a decision. I think it's sensible to retain the average speed cameras to stop excessive speed, particularly in the evenings, but at the same time, it's supposed to be a road that's designed for rapid entry and exit from the town centre, so we should be increasing the speed limit to 40 miles per hour, and I think that chimes with the feeling of the majority of people who use that road.
And for the result of the meeting, check Estuary TV's Facebook page. The Deep has been labelled on TripAdvisor as the 9th best aquarium in Europe. It was also the only aquarium in the UK on the final shortlist. We spoke to Colin Brown, Chief Executive of the Deep Millennium Project, about this.
Yeah, I mean, well, we're already a major sponsor of the 2017 City of Culture. We're one of the angels, and I know that we'll be wanting to sponsor more things as it progresses. But I think, as I say, it's part of this sort of gradual erosion of the negative image that Hull had. You know, City of Culture, Siemens come in, you know, lots of other things going on in the city at the moment. And, you know, if the city's main icon, which I think is the Deep, you know, can be up there with the best in Europe, that can only really add to this sort of positive atmosphere about the city.
It's fireworks again in Cleethorpes tonight after the weekly event was introduced last week. But last week's display was met with mixed responses, with some claiming it was a waste of money in times of austerity. We went to Cleethorpes to ask a few people what they think.
They were wonderful, yes. Yeah, they were really, really good.
Do you think it's worth the money putting into it?
Yes, I think so, don't you? Yeah,
it wasn't as many as the previous one. Well, obviously, when was it? The last one we had?
It was after the Festival of
Yeah.
the Armed Forces Day. There was a good one, but it was good. It was very good, yes.
You think it's good to get maybe like the kids down? And...
Yes, a little bit late for children, but then again, it's not dark, is it? So, but, yes, it is. It's very good.
I think it's a great idea. You know, sort of something for the community to come out and have a look at.
You don't think it's a bit of a waste of money or anything like that?
Not really.
Well, to be honest, it can always be spent on other things, but at the end of the day, you've got to enjoy something, haven't you?
The council like to waste money, so if they, by the end of it, more fun for the kids, they get a day out, something to remember, something for the childhood, so it's worth doing. It's a good thing. Yeah. Keeps people out and about, spend a bit of money, why not?
But Councillor Mick Burnett stood by the fireworks, which he claims was enjoyed by 5,000 or 6,000 people last week. We asked the council how much the fireworks cost, but they have not yet disclosed the amount. Brigg Horse Fair trotted into town yesterday with hundreds of travellers looking to buy and sell. The event was a chance for visitors and spectators to learn more about the travelling community and for traders to buy and sell their livestock. But it got a mixed response from visitors.
Yeah, I travel to all the old horse fairs around here, selling all my wares and bits and that, collars, anything what these travellers want, I sell them to them. I've got a good relationship with all travellers, they all know me. If I can pick it up at the right price, I'll sell it to them. They pick it up at the right price, they sell it back to me, it goes round in a circle.
I think it's terribly cruel. They're forced to ride up and down, they're tired, it's boiling hot, there's loads of people stood around, it's noisy, they're scared. I don't think they're very well looked after. There's one man who's been riding up and down, no, they don't have shoes on or anything, so I think it's cruel.
St Andrew's Hospice is set to receive a 6-month fundraising boost courtesy of Westgate Honda. The scheme is called the Westgate Honda Fundraising 5 and will allow the charities St Andrew's Hospice, the RNLI, Marie Curie, Guide Dogs for the Blind and Lincolnshire Air Ambulance use a car with the charity's logo on it for 6 months. The dealership is also planning more events during this time. That's all we've got time for now. Goodbye.
Northern Lincolnshire and Goole Hospital Trust have made no secret of the fact they're short of doctors. They need another 79, being nearly 14% below a full roster. They're making an effort to improve that number. James Dunn went to speak to some budding local doctors at a special session in Grimsby Hospital.
It might be stating the obvious that doctors are highly trained individuals in great demand, and for that reason Northern Lincolnshire and Goole Hospital Trust has struggled to attract them to local hospitals.
It is very difficult to actually recruit to particularly Grimsby Hospital because we are right at the end of the motorway, practically in the North Sea, and to entice people, doctors I'm talking about, to come and work here can be very difficult, yes.
Now the Trust is taking action to try and tap into local talent. This is a special workshop at Grimsby Hospital to give 15 to 17-year-olds an insight into the profession in the hope that they might come back after university.
It's incredibly important that they go into medicine with the good insight into what exactly is involved with the job. And unfortunately, it's quite difficult as a 16, 17-year-old to get that insight into what it's like to be a doctor.
It was organised by Dr McNeil's daughter, Alexandra, who is herself an aspiring doctor and knows others her age who have struggled to get a foot in the door.
I rang up a few schools and I wanted to know what the heads of department thought about the course, and I went round a lot of students and asked them what they thought they wanted to be on the course, what they didn't know that they wanted to know. I asked people in the year above me who'd already applied what they didn't know that they would have found really helpful to know.
And with such commitment required to break into the profession, it helps to get a true vision of exactly what the dream they'll have to work so hard for looks like.
I've described it as a warts and all course, so we've not just done the positive things of being a doctor and the exciting things, we've also covered the more boring aspects. For example, last night I asked all the students to go home and write a letter to, as if they were a GP writing a letter to a consultant, because that's typical of the sort of paperwork that doctors get to do that isn't much fun.
Luckily, most weren't deterred.
It's funny, but if you actually ask someone, why do you want to be a doctor, you get confused, like, why do I want to be a doctor? But after looking at different reasons, like the fact that you get the sense of achievement that you've helped someone, it's that and a lot of other things that inspire you to become a doctor. So yeah, it has helped.
I definitely think this has pushed me even more, thinking I've looked at everything that we'll do as a junior doctor, and it's made me realise this is really what I want to do, and I want to be doing this every day for the rest of my life until obviously I retire.
And we spoke to someone who can vouch for the fact that it's worthwhile. Tracy Broom started working for the Trust as a trainee in 1985. After a brief gap, she returned in 1990, and now she's risen up the ranks to become a general department manager.
I've stayed with this trust because I enjoy the familiarity and the friendliness of the staff, and also the way this trust is committed, I think, to continuous professional development. And right from day one, they had a training programme outlined for me. And I think we are well paid, but we work hard. And the trust have invested in me, but I have invested in them in terms of the amount of time that I've put into this, both at work and personally as well. So you have to be prepared to put the work in to get the results out at the end.
James Dunn, Estuary TV News.
I'm with Melanie On, Unison Union official, Labour Party activist, Grimsby native and now Labour's parliamentary candidate for Great Grimsby. Melanie, hello, congratulations on your candidacy.
Thank you very much.
There's a little bit of controversy about the fact that you were selected from an all-woman shortlist. Do you think that's a meritocratic way of selecting candidates?
I'm not sure where the concern is coming from, really. The candidates that came forward for the selection were incredibly high quality. So in terms of the level of performance that the candidates were expected to achieve, I think it was incredibly high, and I don't think that we'd have done any better whether it was open or all women.
Ray Sutton, the local Labour Party chairman, has said we've restricted ourselves at quite a critical time in local politics. Austin Mitchell, your predecessor as candidate and sitting Member of Parliament, has said that it would have been better just to let the party choose whoever it wanted, rather than having the local party choose whoever it wanted, rather than having the central party impose the all-female rule. Is it just a matter of the central party wanting more women in Parliament?
Well, I think those reactions came quite soon after the party decided to implement the policy that it has. That is a national policy that has been held in place for a number of years. I think that all women shortlists were brought in 1992 originally. So this is not a new thing. And I think that the Labour Party is right to be committed to trying to achieve parity within a Labour Party in Parliament for women who are trying to represent their constituents.
Well, you say the Labour Party's right to do that, but it's really only very much the Labour Party leadership if it doesn't trust the local parties to pick a 50% women candidates list. If it were left to the local parties and without this central party rule, then perhaps that parity would be impossible. Is the local Labour Party just a bunch of misogynists?
No, the Labour Party is not a bunch of misogynists. I think that the local Labour Party has a really good record of selecting local women candidates for council seats. So I don't think that that's the case. But this is a national policy. But we have to remember the way that policy is made in the Labour Party, that it is a democratic process. It has been agreed by conference. Every party is able to try and change rules if they wish to by submitting rule change to the Labour Party to be discussed at conference. That's not something that parties have been doing in recent years. They've accepted the principle of all women shortlist now.
Great Grimsby has been a Labour constituency solidly for goodness, certainly it goes back before the war. Your predecessor has been here for since 1977, long time, veteran member of Parliament, old friend of this station, but he had only a majority of a little over 700 last time round, and that was before there was a very big threat from UKIP. Now UKIP regards Great Grimsby as one of its prime parliamentary targets. Is UKIP your main threat here?
I think that we have, looking at 2010 results, they were an unusual set of results. I don't think that we anticipated that the majority was going to be quite as small as it did, and we remember that it was the Tories who ran as a very close second. UKIP stood, and they were very far behind in that election. Now, we are fully aware that UKIP have made gains in local government and at a European level in the last year. But for me, I still think that the Tories are our main threat.
The UKIP local representative Ron Shepherd said Grimsby is ripe for plucking. There is a study published just recently in The Independent on Sunday by Dr. Matthew Goodwin of Nottingham University saying that this is the first most tempting seat for UKIP. Now, those studies are all predictive. That's a gamble, isn't it? But who will UKIP be stealing more votes from? Because they tend to have a right-wing policy, but a very much a working-class demographic. Who are they a bigger threat to, you or the Tories?
I think that they remain a bigger threat to the Tories than they do to Labour. We will be working very hard to go out there and talk to traditional Labour voters and try to reconnect where they might have flirted with UKIP in the past, convince them that the Labour Party is the right choice for them in 2015.
Flirting with UKIP is a distasteful thought, isn't it? You have a national presentation as well. Ed Miliband is perhaps the least successful communicator of all the political leaders. Is he going to lead you to the next election?
I think he's going to lead us to the next election. I think he's going to be a successful leader of the Labour Party.
What is his problem? Why can't he eat a bacon sandwich? Why do people watch the expression on his face more than what he says?
It's very unfortunate, and I feel really sorry for him, because actually as an individual he's an incredibly bright man. He's a very deep thinker, and I think that he's the right person to lead Labour to victory.
You're a loyal supporter of him. Melanie, many thanks for coming along. Congratulations again on the candidacy.
Thank you.
That's all we have time for tonight. If you have a story for us, please email news@estuary.tv or contact us via our Twitter or Facebook pages, or pick up the phone and call 01472 315561. Until next time, goodbye.